The other day, I had somebody ask me about a knot, and what he was wanting to tie was a 5/6 and turn it into a bombazerta. But and here's the drawing for the 5/6. But he was wanting it a little bigger around, and I told him that he ought to try a 5-part 7-bight because it's the same width, but it's bigger around. And I do not show a drawing of a 5/7 or the run list in my introduction to Turk's Head knots. So I wanted to. This is the first book that I put out, which was Western Tack Tips. And in the back of it, I've got the run list for all of the knots up to 13 parts in each bight. So here's the 4-bight knots up to 13 parts. Here's the 5-bight knots up to 13. There's the 12 and the 13. Here's the 6-bight knots up to 13. Here's the 7-bight knots up to 13. There's a lot of 7s. Here's the 8-bight knots. And that's as far as I went to, is 13, 8. But they're all in this Western Tack Tips book, which they're not in the introduction to Turk's Head knots. But I want to tie this knot, so let me hold that right there kind of straight so you could pause it or get a screenshot of the run list. Okay, now I've put a collar on this stick. This stick is a 3/4 inch dowel, and this is 3/8 inch collar. Just because people ask me about that, and this is just 550 parachute cord. Now, I did this book back before I knew George Shackey, and this is the way that Robert Woolerly did his run lists in his book, with the just numbering the whole cycle, and then each half cycle is A, B. And George Shackey had me said that you needed to change that to go with the math. The math can't do A's and B's. So this is from a long time ago. But we're going to do, and the A's are from left to right, and the B's are from right to left. And instead of saying free runs, I've got clockwise passes before I knew George Shackey. But so we do a clockwise pass. Then we do a clockwise pass, and it's a free run because there's no overs and unders. And then we continue our clockwise pass. So that's how you do free runs or clockwise passes where there's no overs and unders. And now we're doing an over 1. Then we do an over 1. Then we do an over 2. 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 And right here is our under over. So we go under, and over 2. Now we do an under and an over 2. Now all we're doing, we've got tracks. See our tracks right here? And we're just doing under, over, splitting our tracks. So under, over, over. And once you get to this half cycle, your knot is kind of holding together. And then I say that, and this path right here, see our tracks? That could have slipped. So be sure that this is that direction and this hasn't flipped over. So it's under, over, over. Now, this is our last set of tracks. Under, over, over. And that finishes our knot. And we go in alongside of our standing end to finish the knot. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bites. Now, let's just, I tied that a little looser than I probably should have. So I'm going to just go through and tighten it up a little bit to make it straight mainly. But to make it straight, you want to get these squares about all the same size, and you want it, the collar underneath, centered in your knot. Okay. Now, I'd stop this and do a part 2 to make a pineapple interweave in this, but I think we'll just go right on ahead. So I'm going to get a different color. Since it's Christmas, we're doing red and yellow. But for a pineapple, you go in on the right hand side of your standing end, and where we finished the knot here, we're going to go under 2. But if you were tying it all with the same string, see how this comes out in the same place that this is? You would just continue on with this string. But we're doing a second color, so we're going under 2. I might have a lot of string here. Okay. Now we're just going to go over 1 and under the cross. This is the same way as doing a pineapple in a 5-part 4-bite. So we just got more bites. So we're over 1 and under our cross. Over 1, under our cross. And see, this outside one is for a herringbone. This inside cross is for a pineapple. So this, we're making a pineapple. So we're going under the cross, over 1, under the cross, and then if you'll give yourself a little space right there, because you're going to come back and come up through there, and that will help you in tying your knot. Over 1, under the cross. Give us our space. Over 1, under the cross, and right there is our first pair. And we split that pair. And right there is where we're making the room for that pass right there. See, we got a little bit of a twist, but we make room for our for when we come under there. over one. See, and I probably didn't make it there. So under our cross and one more to split our pair. Make our room, and see how I pulled that down to the edge of our collar. Over one, under our cross, and one more to split the pair. Make room for our pass. Over one, under our cross, and one more to split the pair. And this is starting to tighten up just about right. Over one, under our cross, and one more. Now we've got a pair out in front of us. So we go over two, under our cross, and one more to split our pair. And see, now we don't have to straighten it out as much because that string is already there. Over two, split our pair, under our cross, and one more to split that pair. Over two, split the pair, under our cross, one more to split that pair. Over two, split that pair, under the cross, and one more to split that pair. Now it's over two, split that pair, and that brings us back to the standing end of our interweave knot. And that completes our knot. And you can see in there that it fits onto our collar nice. It just makes a nice solid knot with a single zigzag in the middle. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll tie this knot